Hello, this is William McKissock with Schoolie Mitchell, your expense reduction consultant. And as you know, at Schoolie Mitchell and personally, even though we're an expense reduction consulting company, we love to promote other businesses on social media for free and give them a boost in their business life. And today I have with me Heather Aycock, who is with Catalyst Travel Design, a travel company. And Heather's going to tell us a lot more about where she came from and her background and about the travel industry in general. Hi, Heather. Welcome to the show.
Hi, William. Thanks for having me.
Absolute pleasure. So let's get right into it. So tell us a little bit about your background. And I believe for the viewer, it's a very interesting background as to how you came about to be a travel agent in the travel world. So tell us a little bit more.
Sure, I'd love to. So before I got into this industry, I was a chemist. I worked in that industry or the pharmaceutical industry for about 20 years. And I loved what I did. I loved the technology and the science and everything of it and the details. But after that long, in the middle of my life, it was really time for a big change, like a huge change. So I was I kind of searched around what else could I do? Do I take my chemistry degree and make that into something, or do I just completely abandon it? So in the process of this timeline, my husband and I also had always wanted to live on board a sailboat. So I he had his license, and I also got mine. I did some training so I know what to do. And we left our careers. We moved aboard full time on a sailboat and took off for about 3 or 4 months. And it
Wow.
happened to be during COVID, so that was a whole other story. So there were definitely some trials and tribulations along there, but like they say, it builds character. So when I returned from that, I had planned all along, with this, I have this very adventurous spirit, always have. And it made sense for me to go into travel because number one, I love travel, but most people do. But more importantly, I love planning it. I love planning all the details and everything that goes along with that. So it works out for other people who are way too busy and they don't have the hours to do that. And I gladly take it over.
Fantastic. So you
Yeah.
can see that you have the bug, not only the bug, but you have that like the planning part. That's a bit everybody hates. We all love the going on holiday and doing all of that. But
Mhm.
planning it out can sometimes be the hardest part. And I know that when I went to Germany last year, trying to plan that out for 3 weeks in Germany, it was an absolute nightmare. So I wish I'd talked to you then. Anyway,
Mhm.
so tell us a little bit about your company, Catalyst Travel Design. So obviously a travel company. Can you tell us a little bit about kind of the areas that you focus on in the travel industry?
Right. So I named it Catalyst Travel Design because it's a little nod to science. So anybody that was in my previous career can kind of catch on that. So I started it about is it 4 or 5 years ago. It was unfortunately during COVID. So first couple years, were kind of iffy, but I toughed it out. And a lot of my inspiration came from a trip I took a long time ago as a solo trip through Europe. And it was back in, I think, 2005. And I left my job at the time as a chemist and traveled for 3 months by myself throughout Europe. And I look back now and I think about it, it was a little bit crazy, and my parents are still mad about it. But it was just another one of those things that just built character. And it's just like I fell in love with Europe. I fell in love with traveling, meeting locals, speaking their language. I remember getting a lot of free wine in Greece because I bothered to learn a few phrases in Greek. So they would just be so excited, like, bravo, you speak Greek. And I was like, well, I know about five phrases, but it was enough to connect with them and to make them just to give them that respect. When I visit their culture, I give them that respect. I bother to learn a few phrases. So it was scary. It's a very scary sometimes to be out there just by myself in the middle of Europe.
Hmm.
But it was looking back, it was probably one of the best things I did. So bringing that kind of excitement and experience to my clients, I get just excited when they travel. It's like I'm living vicariously through
Yeah.
them. So I get just as much out of it as they do. But as far as like locations, I'm not limited to Europe. That's where most of my experiences is. But I do. all around the world, New Zealand, Costa Rica, Vietnam. So I kind of bring that same passion and that attention to detail all around the world.
So if I want to go for a trip to say Japan, I'm looking to do a 2 week trip to Japan, trip of a lifetime, and I called you up and said, Heather, can you help me organize that? What would be the steps that you would take to organize that holiday for me?
Perfect. So the organization I belong to, which is called Virtuoso, is a worldwide network of travel operators and suppliers and travel advisors like myself. And they're on the ground. They're experts in their field, in their destination. So depending on someone's, what they want in particular, depending on their budget, I have several of these supplier partners that I work with. And one of my jobs is to narrow down based on a client's wishes, which one of those fit best. And sometimes I'll pick two or three of them and start getting some proposals, feedback from them so that my client and I can kind of narrow that down and see what fits best. But I'm the one that's here at home, that's on call, that's here for my client. But I also have the local office that they can reach out to them if they have an issue. They can fix something faster than I can sometimes here in the US, but they know the market, they know the destination. So that's a big part of what I do.
So essentially, you've got a worldwide network of people that support your business.
Mm-hmm. I do.
That's fantastic because I was one of the questions I was going to ask is that like some of my friends in Europe, they wanted to come to the States on holiday.
Yeah.
Could I send them to you and to say, okay, if you want to do a United States holiday, Heather's the person because she lived in Europe on her own for 3 months. She really knows what she's talking about. Would that be a potential ideal client for you?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, like I said, there's contacts around the world, so it's just a matter of reaching out to them and getting their expertise and kind of collaborating with them to do that. Yeah.
Fantastic. If you're watching this show and you're looking to do a trip anywhere in the world and you're looking for somebody to plan it all out for you, the hard part, plan it all out for you within your budget, reach out to Heather. Her details are below her portion of the video. So, Heather, one quick question is how long have you been doing this as a travel agent since you left the chemistry world?
It's been about 5 years now. And like I said, like the first, I didn't intend to get on into it during COVID, but I just took that time to really, really dive deep into the knowledge that it takes to be in this industry and to be a professional. So yeah, that's about 5 years ago is when I started it.
And how do you find your clients normally?
How do I what?
How do you find your clients?
I do a lot of networking here in the area in Tampa. It always starts at the beginning with friends and family, which aren't necessarily the best clients, as we all know.
Yeah.
But you just kind of go out from there. You do a really good job with someone in the circle that you have. And then they send a referral like, hey, I worked with Heather. She's great. And then from there on, it just kind of branches out.
So it's mostly networking and word of mouth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, if you're watching this video, watch my mouth. Reach out to Heather. Her details below her portion of the video. Heather, this has been great. It's been a great insight into the travel world and the fact that you're an experienced traveler. That for me, that personally makes a huge difference to somebody who's gone and traveled on their own, and then they bring that experience to the table. It just gives a whole other layer. It's not like you picked up a business and started phoning people, and suddenly you've got a business. You've actually lived it and done it. So I think that's an absolute amazing piece of experience that you bring to the table.
Yeah.
So have you got anything else you'd like to tell us about the travel industry? Any tips about traveling? Sorry, not necessarily the industry, but have you any tips about travel that people should know about?
Any tips? I'm the one that keeps up with the current news and the current events. So if there's anything going on, I'm going to be ahead of that curve. As far as tips, just rely on your travel professional. And, it's easy. I mean, you can get online, you can do it yourself, you can go through Expedia. But if something goes wrong, and it does because that's life, you're going to get on the phone with Expedia and you're going to be number 500 in line. You're not going to be a priority. Mm-hmm. Whereas with a travel professional, you're our priority. You call us first and we handle it. So we're living in a time where you need to hand over things like that to a professional. You source out or you outsource other things in your life and other departments. Why not outsource your travel? because you've invested a lot of time and money into that. So it's important to make the best of it.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're correct because in any walk in life, if you have a problem, you want a go-to person.
Yeah.
Don't necessarily want to be like in a telephone line, like calling a bank or something.
Right.
You want an absolute go-to person. So yeah, that's great advice. Thank you very much.
You're
So
welcome.
again, Heather's details are under her portion of the video. If you're a traveler and you want to travel anywhere on the planet, any way in the planet, boat, plane, whatever, Heather's your person to go to. Heather, thank you very much for coming in the show. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome, William. It's fun to be on here with you.
Thanks. I'm now going to hand it over to Dave for the weather.